In the last few weeks, I've started to make a Pokemon region based on Hollow Knight Silksong, and in today's video, we will ask ourselves what if Eevee had new evolutions based on the crests. Each one designed from an enemy or NPC that's related to the obtainance of the crest. Of course, each one of these will have a type not used in previous evolutions. The idea for this video came from one of the comments, specifically from I have ideas and none of them are good, saying that I could do a Hornet Eevee that evolves into different crests you get in the game. Well, I think you will have to change your username because your idea was so good I'm doing a whole video out of it. Before we start, just want to warn you about spoilers. So if you haven't finished the game yet, you have been warned. Anyway, let's get to it. Of course, we need to start with Eevee. I planned for this Pokemon to be the start of the game. I was originally going to make a classic water, grass and fire trio starter, but there aren't many water-based enemies that I felt that could work. So I ended up scrapping that and going with Eevee. Well, not exactly. It's actually a convergent called weavee, so it's not actually related to it. So the idea is to make this Eevee look like Hornet, representing the crest you start with. I found it quite challenging, especially its ears. I was trying to make them look like Hornet's pointy head, but it looked weird. In the end, I tried a more dynamic pose that made its ears go back from its movement. So with just changing the shape a bit, it helped make it look more like Hornet. Meet Weavee, the Weaver Pokemon, and a fighting type. This Pokemon suddenly appeared in front of Hornet when she woke up from her crash after escaping Team Silk. No one seems to have ever seen this Pokemon before, so it's probably not native to the Farland region. But where did it come from? For its abilities, I went with Pickup, as Hornet is constantly picking up items from the floor, such as shards, rosaries and much more. But for its hidden ability, I went with Anticipation. I think it's a fitting ability for a Pokemon based on Hornet, who has good instincts, and from the very start she had a general idea of what was going on, anticipating most of the events of the game. For its stats, I just gave it a similar stat spread than Eevee, but I made its speed its highest stat instead of its special defense, which I think it fits Hornet more. I've mentioned the word crest a few times by now, so for those of you that don't know what the crests are in Silksong, they're the primary customization system that changes Hornet's combat style. You start with a Hunter's Crest, which has a diagonal pogo, and for your adventure you can get up to 7 different crests, each one with different attributes that really change the way you play the game. Some attack faster, some have more range, or give you certain abilities, or even change the way you heal yourself. So now that you have a better understanding of it, let's continue with the first evolution. So you start the game with the Hunter's Crest, a crest that fits Hornet the most, if you compare her to her boss fight in the original Hollow Knight. You can actually improve the crest through the game, making its damage go up with consecutive strikes. So I decided to make this first evolution also based on Hornet, looking much more similar to Weavee than the rest of the evolutions, but much more sleek with some references to the crest design, like the patterns on its head that look like extra eyes. So while Weavee represents a more young Hornet, this evolution represents a more mature Hornet. So I gave it big pointy ears to really make it look similar. I also made its tail look similar to a needle. When Weavee levels up with high friendship, it will evolve into Reapeon, the hunter Pokemon. It's a master of stealth, moving through shadows and forests without making a sound. Its larger sensitive ears can detect even the faintest heartbeat from over a mile away. Once it locks onto its prey, it strikes with lightning speed, using its sharp pointed tail to deliver precise and fatal blows. Just like all evolutions, this one will also get new abilities, and in this case I gave it Technician as its regular ability, as Hornet is a very skilled fighter who is known for her precise strikes. And for its hidden ability, I went with Moxie. I gave it this because when you upgrade the Hunter's Crest, damage from your needle strikes increases for each consecutive hit. I think that Moxie is the best ability to represent this. Every evolution has the same stat spread but swapped around, having one stat being base 130, another 110, 195, 265 and one final one at 60. So all of these designs will follow this rule. So for Weavile, I gave it really high speed and good attack, as well as decent HP to survive a hit or two. Next, we have the Wanderer's Crest. This one stands out because of its speed, so I wanted it to have a type that's generally quite fast, the flying type. It was the hardest design to come up with because, unlike the other ones, there wasn't a specific NPC or enemy that was protecting it, just a bunch of normal pilgrims. But then I remembered that many say that this crest is basically the moveset from Hollow Knight, so I decided to base its design on the knight. So I gave it wings designed like the monarch wings, the double jump from the original game. At level 25, and only after walking 10,000 steps with Weavee in your team, it will evolve into Swiftion, the Wanderer Pokémon. This flying type is a free spirit that can rarely be seen in one place for long. Guided by boundless curiosity, it rides the winds across vast distances, exploring mountains, seas, and skies alike. For its ability, I gave it super luck so it has a higher chance of a crit when using certain moves, as the Wanderer Crest, unlike the other ones, has a random chance of hitting a crit with your Needle Strike. And for its hidden ability, I went with Sniper, which enhances the damage of critical hits. As I mentioned, the Wanderer's Crest has the fastest Needle Strike, so I gave this Pokemon really high speed, as well as a good attack and special attack. Next, we have the Reaper's Crest. You can find it in Greymore after fighting a room of enemies. And one of those enemies, I felt like it fits this crest the most, the Silk Snipper. This room, where you find this crest, is full of scissors hanging from its ceiling, so I had to base it on this enemy. Its design is also one of my favourites of the game. I just really like the vibes, so I give it a little hat, and in order to represent the Silk Snipper's weapon, I shaped its ears like the handles of a pair of scissors. And finally, I gave it some really long and sharp claws. These also represent the sharp scissors, as well as a reference to Freddy Krueger, as I'm planning on making it a ghost type. When Weavee levels up while holding a Reaper cloth, it will evolve into Reapeon, the Reaper Pokemon and a ghost type. Its long, razor-like claws don't tear flesh, instead they slice directly at the victim's soul. Those struck by Reapeon feel no pain, only a chilling emptiness that lingers long after the battle ends. For its ability, I went with Hyper Cutter, which I think fits with the scissor weapon the original design has. And for its hidden ability, I went with Sharpness, boosting its slashing moves, which I would imagine it would learn quite a few of them with those giant claws. Stat wise, I made it really slow, as a Reaper Crest has the slowest attack speed, but it has good attack and defenses. Hi everyone, just a small pause to let you know that if you want to help support this channel, you can become a member and get some awesome perks. Every month I change the images you can download, and in the month of November you will be able to download these PNGs of Pokemon I created in previous videos. Anyway, be sure to check the membership plans for more details. But for now, let's get back to the video. Next, we have the Beast Crest. You can find it in Hunter's March after fighting the famous Savage Beastfly, so I based the design on this boss. The Beast Crest has an interesting pogo. Instead of downward or even diagonal, its pogo spins really fast sideways, and it can even bounce off walls, so it's actually really good in close quarters. So I wanted to represent this unique pogo by having this Pokemon in a more dynamic pose, spinning at fast speeds while attacking with its claws. For its colours, I went with grey just like the Savage Beastfly, but I added some red accents to its claws to represent its rage mode, where Hornet's needle strikes to do more damage as well as heals her. When Weavee levels up while holding the Dragon Fang, it will evolve into Beasteon, the Beast Pokemon. This Dragon-type Pokemon spins at blinding speeds, tearing through anything in its path. It shows no concern for its safety, throwing itself into battle with reckless behaviour. For its abilities, I went with, well, Reckless. Many players play this crest by binding at full health and just start trading blows, doing a lot of damage while recovering the health that it may lose while attacking. And for its hidden ability, I went with Tough Claws, fitting for a crest that literally has claw marks come out when attacking. Next, we have the Architect Crest. Many consider this crest to be the easy mode. You just spam all of your tools and bind them to get them back, allowing the player to easily defeat a boss without even confronting it directly. Considering it's called the Architect crest, I based the design on the 12th Architect, an NPC who sells you tools. This NPC is a robot created by the Citadel, so it looks similar to all the robotic enemies you find in the game, like 4th Chorus, who, I might remind you, I turned into a Pokémon in episode 2 of the Silksong Pokemon series. So if you haven't seen it yet, be sure to watch it after this video is over. When Weavee levels up while holding the metal coat, it will evolve into Cogeon, the Architect Pokémon, and a Steel type. While its body is incredibly sturdy, it doesn't like to enter combat directly. It prefers to analyze the stage while controlling its drill-shaped tail from a distance. For its abilities, I went with Analytic. I think that it makes sense for a robotic Pokémon like this one, just like Magnezone. And for its hidden ability, I went with Clear Body, another fitting ability for a robotic Pokémon like Metagross. A robot like this one wouldn't feel threatened by stuff like Intimidate, so it has no effect on it. Stat-wise, I gave it a high defense as its body is made out of steel, as well as a high special attack as it doesn't attack directly like when you use your tools. The next crest is a Witch crest, a crest that you get by getting infected by a parasite you get from Greyroot. I wasn't too sure what type to do it. The fact that it looks like a bunch of roots would make you think of grass type, but I wanted all of these to have an unused evolution type. So I decided to go with Poison. I think it makes sense as it's a parasite, and you even find the Twisted Bud in Bilewater. Of course, I based the design on Greyroot, and I made its tail look like a bunch of twisted tentacles similar to how you attack enemies when binding. When Weavee is poisoned and levels up, it will evolve into Pesteon. This Pokemon feigns a cute and harmless appearance, however, deep inside there is a parasite that controls the body and will suddenly come out when an enemy gets close, sucking their life force with its tentacles in seconds. For its abilities, I went with Liquid Ooze. I imagine that if they try to drain its HP, the Pokemon, instead of recovering health, would be attacked by the parasite from the inside. And for its hidden ability, I went with Corrosion, Salandit's custom ability, basically representing that it can infect anyone, even a god, just like the cursed ending in Silksong. Stat-wise, I made it quite tanky, especially on the special side, representing how hard it is to get rid of the parasite. Also, so that it can fully utilize its corrosion ability, being able to poison any Pokemon while also being able to survive various hits. And for the final design of the day, a Weaveelution based on the Shaman crest. This crest can be found in Act 3 inside the ruined chapel, where the snail shamans are reunited. So of course, its design is based on these NPCs. The most obvious choice is to make it a psychic type, as it's a crest that specializes in silk skills, the magic system of the game. But we already have Espeon, so I went with bug type as you're using silk to do these magic spells, so I think it makes sense. Also, having a big snail shell on its back shouts bug type much more than all the other crests. When Weavee uses the Dusk Stone, it will evolve into Oracleon, the shaman Pokemon. It can glimpse into the future, but never interferes, believing that all events, good or bad, must unfold as destiny intends. Ability wise, I went with Shell Armor, fitting for a Pokemon with a giant shell on its back. A Magic Guard for its hidden ability, which I think makes sense for a Pokemon based on Shamans. Stat wise, has a really big special attack, as well as good defense and special defense, but it's really slow. And that is all for today. Special thanks to my members Redclaw87 and our newest member Jonathan Kant Brown. Just a quick reminder that you can also become a member to help support the channel while also getting some awesome perks. But if not, you can always just subscribe and share my videos with your friends who also like Pokemon or Silksong. Anyway, I hope you liked this episode and let me know what would you evolve Weavee into if this was an actual game. See you in the next one, bye!